is located in northern Nevada on the eastern slope of the Sierra Nevada mountains. It's 218 miles east of San Francisco, 130 miles east of Sacramento, and 452 miles north of Las Vegas, a city we are sometimes confused with. We are on the eastern edge of the tech-focused economic mega-region, which encompasses the Bay Area and parts of Northern California. Reno's location is actually farther west than Los Angeles, which positions it as one of the best shipping hubs into the Pacific Rim. Reno has a Tier 1 university, the University of Nevada, Reno, which is one of the oldest universities in the West. It began as one building on a hill overlooking the town and has grown to a large 290-acre campus, which is one of Reno's primary economic drivers. It has top-rated business and engineering colleges and a medical school. Its student population is steadily growing. This year, it has almost 19,000 undergraduates and another 2,000 graduate students. From 1885 until 1974, the university and the town were seamless. Then, Interstate 80 was built. It is 8 lanes wide and 20 feet below grade. From the day it opened, it created a grand canyon between the university and the town. The only remnant of the original connection is a one-block-wide, blighted neighborhood on the north side of the interstate. Downtown Reno historically had brick buildings that were 3 to 5 stories tall, interspersed with a handful of taller, modern buildings. Downtown was also the base of our gaming industry. Starting in 1978, a building boom started. By the early 1990s, the downtown core had become much denser, comprised of numerous concrete towers and parking structures. Our streets became oriented exclusively around cars, not pedestrians. South of downtown, a number of cultural and economic centers arose, including a performing arts center, an art museum, and a children's discovery museum. The denser high-rise scale stops at the Truckee River. A Riverwalk District, which began around the year 2000, has become increasingly popular. It has a beautiful public park which hosts summer festivals and special events, a whitewater kayak course, and a variety of restaurants, theaters, art galleries, and bars. As you get closer to the Truckee River, you notice a change. There are shops, theaters, and restaurants. You are near apartment buildings. You walk past parks and some historic buildings. South of the river, the scale is closer to Reno's historic roots. A number of pre-war residential neighborhoods border the cultural centers and commercial areas around the Midtown District. You come to an area where there are bustling businesses, sandwich shops, specialty shops, coffee shops, and small restaurants, and some interesting bars. Most of these businesses are in older buildings that have been readapted. At 2 to 3 stories, the built environment has a much smaller scale than downtown. There are residential neighborhoods mixed in with the commercial uses. The district feels walkable and open. It is much more livable. The city is interested in exploring if urban design can help us reconnect these areas. We want to reestablish the linkages between the university, downtown, and midtown. Let's look at this challenge from the street-level perspective. Virginia Street has been Reno's primary north-south arterial since the 1860s. Starting in 1932, it became the epicenter of Reno's gaming industry, our economic engine for most of the 20th century. Virginia Street was also the primary connection between the university and downtown. Virginia Street was vibrant. It had numerous stores and restaurants, in addition to casinos and hotels. With angled on-street parking, Virginia Street was also pedestrian-friendly. It was a fun location to stroll, shop, and take in the sights. The construction of Interstate 80 in 1974 and the rise of big-box construction in the downtown core throughout the 80s and early 90s changed the relationship of the university to downtown. It also changed the character of downtown. Not only did the scale become taller, more opaque, and more impersonal, most of the infrastructure was centered on cars, not people. This infrastructure has created physical barriers as well as visual ones. This would be the current experience of a pedestrian using Virginia Street to walk from the university to downtown. Leaving the campus, you walk along a 3-foot-wide sidewalk to the first major intersection. There is a high volume of vehicle traffic. This is where 3 lanes of travel flow when exiting Interstate 80. After waiting for the signal, you walk to the next block, where the sidewalk is a bit narrower. On the west side, Interstate 80 rushes beneath you. On the east side, there's a Walgreens parking lot. At the next intersection, you come to another light. This is the location where eastbound traffic exits Interstate 80. Crossing the street, you enter the northern edge of downtown. There's very little pedestrian traffic here. During the early 2000s, the city installed new sidewalks and new street lighting. Although the wider sidewalks look better, you are aware that there are no people watching you walk by. The buildings are multi-level parking garages or hotel casinos with false fronts. There are no homes or apartment buildings. Continuing south, you start walking into commercial areas that are busier. Pedestrian traffic increases. You walk past some older, shorter buildings which seem out of place, a few inactive motels, some old houses, but the majority of the buildings you pass are casinos, souvenir shops, and convenience stores. There are no restaurants, no clothing stores, no coffee shops. The challenge for Reno is how to connect the university, downtown, and midtown districts that occur along Virginia Street. Are there approaches that will be more successful than others? If we look to housing to help achieve this goal, where should housing be located, and what kind of housing should that be? How do we incorporate open space? How do we best use transit? If concrete, multi-story parking garages work against our goal of improving pedestrian accessibility, how do we rethink parking? What should the Reno of 2020 and 2030 look like?